Hey everybody, I have a video here today. As you guys have seen in the past, I like to do video responses to some of my favorite YouTubers. This is kind of a throwback to when YouTube allowed you to do video responses. Pete Dorr, who I talk about a lot, put out a video called Tips for Collecting on the Cheap, basically. And it was very informative, very useful. Again, I like to point to videos like that for why I enjoy Pete's content. He just genuinely, I think, enjoys collecting. It seemed like he was having kind of a hoot with this video. He's very fixated with fishing games. I don't know if this guy bought up every single available copy of fishing games and is trying to offload them. I tease, of course. But I thought, you know what? This is going to be kind of stream of consciousness, off the cuff, so to speak. But let's talk about tips for collecting cheap. And mostly what it boiled down to is collecting subgenres. So he wasn't like, wake up at 6 a.m. and get to yard sales, okay? It's not that kind of tips. Or like save searches on eBay so you can always pull them up very quickly. No, it wasn't anything like that. It was, for example, he said collect launch titles, collect greatest hits. And basically what it boiled down to is he was saying to focus your collection. And now this is my first tip, and it's more or less what he was getting at, but I'm just going to put it in my own words here. And that is focus your collection. This was about 3 different hints of his, like go after a genre, go after greatest hits, go after launch titles. And I say, set a goal in mind and you will achieve it so much faster. So essentially, 5 years ago, more or less, somewhere between 2016 and 2017-ish, when I was just getting into collecting, I told Jessica, I said, I want to complete N64, a complete GameCube, and a complete Wii U. And as I was going through the motions, about 2 years in, I had about 30 games for each console with no real dedicated focus. And I thought I did have focus. I was like, man, forget handheld, Sony, Microsoft, Sega. Like, I'm just going to focus on these 3, which narrowed down the pool greatly, but it was still really wide. So when COVID kind of happened and when they started liquidating their stores, basically, they kept having 4 for $10, 4 for $20. The PS5, the Switch was already here, of course, and the Xbox Series X, I believe that's what the new Xbox is called. Who even knows these days? They were getting ready to come out, so they were like, no more trade-ins, let's get all this old crap out of here. 4 for $10, 4 for $20 deal. And I bought every single GameCube game these places had. And as a result, in a year, I'm 3 games away from completing my Wii U. And why was I able to do that? Because I stopped buying PS2 games, I stopped buying GameCube games, I stopped buying handhelds. 90% of the games I bought were Wii U games. If I ever bought a GameCube game, it was like random, one-off, not like I'm going to buy GameCube games. So that is probably my biggest tip, is focus your collection, okay? Because then you will feel like you are making progress. If you have your hand in every single cookie jar, you're not going to get any cookies. It's one of those kind of deals, right? The more cookie jars you put your hand in, the less cookies you actually get. It's weird, but that's just how it goes. My second tip, okay, is, again, ask yourself, what do you want out of your collection? Is it about monetary value? I have 2 coworkers who, one of them is a big Pokemon card collector. The other one is my boss, so he likes to sell Pokemon cards. And he always told everybody, sell your Pokemon cards now while it's at the peak. Do not wait, because we don't know the longevity of Pokemon cards. Sell them now. And he always tell people, he said, isn't this why you buy this stuff? So that you can sell it when it goes up in value? Basically treating our collections like stocks. For some people, that's it. I've heard people say, this is my retirement plan, or I'm going to sell my collection to fund my kids' colleges. I've heard it all. Oh, if I need emergency money, I just sell my collection, right? Like, we look at our games like they're stocks. And he got my coworker saying that. He'd always tell people, well, you buy this stuff to sell it, and is that what you want out of your collection? Because for me, I know what I want out of my collection. There's a reason I haven't sold anything throughout this, because I'm building my collection to play with my kids. Now, no need for lecturing. I understand that when my kids come out, they may be repulsed by video games. They may find the graphics outdated, yada, yada, yada. But that's a risk I'm willing to take to show my kids Ocarina of Time, Super Mario Odyssey, Pokemon, games. That's a risk I'm willing to take, okay? The other reason I buy them is it's kind of like a happy place. I was very happy as a kid playing video games. Not that I'm not happy as an adult, but, when you're an adult, things hit differently. So it's nice to just be able to go play Super Mario 64 and feel like, man, I am 6 years old again. Those are some of the reasons that I love my collection. I have a lot of the games I had as a kid. And if I never even get to experience them with my future kids, I have experienced them with Jessica, who had very limited experiences with these games. So I've got to show her Ocarina of Time. I've got to play the Mario parties with her. And that is just a very special feeling. But I'm getting a little long-winded here to say, what do you want out of your collection? Because if it's not monetary value, maybe, just maybe, you should consider repros. I was going to put, emulation or Game Pass or something, like that. But a lot of people who would even watch a video like this are going to be physical collectors. So they would say, ooh, gross. But I got to thinking about repros. If you go back 10, 15 years ago, emulation was a naughty word. You couldn't say it around serious collectors. I think Jessica's about to get off. My phone's ringing. Or binging, I should say. You couldn't say the word emulation around them. Now, yeah, you can emulate stuff. You can say the word. Okay? You got to make sure there's no lawyers around when you say it, but you can say the word. And I think that's where we're going to be with repros in no time at all, because I think it's now just a matter of ethics on the seller's part. Because at my job, we've recently started selling reproduction carts for Pokemon. Because all our customers want Pokemon, but no one ever trades Pokemon in. So we got repros. And we tell them up front, hey, these are reproduction carts. So what does that mean? It means you're paying half, a fourth of the price, but you get to play the game. Now, when you go to sell it, it's not going to command the same price as the authentic cart. But if your goal is to just play the games, then why not buy a reproduction cart? Jessica and I bought a reproduction cart of Ruby. Okay? It plays the same. There's no problems with it. Jessica is getting to experience Ruby. And you get what I'm saying? So ask yourself, what is your goal with your collection? Because if you can stomach having a reproduction cart, go for it. It's not going to sell for what it's worth, but it might. Think about, they reprint Action Comics #1. They reprint Hulk 181. Yeah, they're reproductions. And maybe you could argue, well, those are from Marvel or those are from DC. And I get what you're saying. But again, ask yourself what you want out of your collection. If you can stomach having a reproduction cart. Because I think in time, those may even go up in value when it gets harder to find the originals. So, food for thought. Okay. The next point I think is also a good one. In the comic book world, one of the big channels, Reggie Collects, he has a saying, blue ocean versus red ocean. So in the red ocean, there's a lot of hunters and sharks, and it's a dog-eat-dog world. In the blue ocean, the waters are calm. Come on in, it's fine. So what do I mean by all this, right? PS3 stuff is spiking. Everyone's talking about PS3. Guess what no one's talking about? Xbox 360. So guess where I'm going to buy games? The Xbox 360. All right? Go where people aren't going. GameCube games got expensive. You know what I started to do? I started buying original Xbox games. Okay, so I would go out. I'd be lucky to get 2 GameCube games. Man, I'd come home with 15 Xbox games. You get what I'm saying? Follow the red ocean, okay? Sega Genesis, or the blue ocean. Sega Genesis, on average, is going to be cheaper than the Super Nintendo, on average, okay? That's just how it is. PS2, on average, is going to be cheaper than the GameCube. 360, on average, is looking like it's going to be cheaper than the PS3. And, no one's collecting Xbox One and PS4 stuff right now. And I'm not saying you have to have a complete collection, but if you just want a game, start collecting for the PS4 and the Xbox One, because it is now in that transition phase where it's going to be next up for GameStop to eliminate. You get what I'm saying? So, follow the blue ocean, guys. Like, if YouTubers are talking about something, immediately go collect the opposite. If everyone's talking about PS3, go collect 360. Now, again, you got to ask yourself, what is your goal? Because if your goal is to flip games, then maybe go see if you can find some good deals on these spiking PS3 games. But if you just want to play games, relive the memories, make new memories, then go where other people aren't. Collect PS2 right now. PS2 is everywhere, and for the most part, it's dirt cheap. We know the expensive PS2 titles, and for every one expensive PS2 game, there's about 500 just cheap, sub $50 PS2 games, all right? You can go out with $20 and get you a darn good night of PS2 games. So just go where people aren't. Collect what's not cool, because collecting PS3 was not cool weeks ago. I got to be careful because I don't know when this video is coming out. Weeks ago, months ago, however long it takes me to get this video out. Collecting PS3 was not popular. Now everyone wants to talk about, oh, this PS3 game. Ooh, is this PS3 game rare? So just go where other people aren't. Okay? My fourth tip is learn to love sports titles. Learn to love the filler titles, okay? Pete made a point. He said, look up the worst reviewed games. And, maybe the worst reviewed games are going to be cheap. They're going to be in dollar bin fillers. But, yeah, just learn to love cheap genres, okay? Sports titles, yes, there's always that one sports title on a console that's going to be expensive. But outside of that, I mean, dude, you can load up on PS2 sports games. Yes, it is the lowest form. It's the easiest form of collecting. How about that, right? PS2 sports games. But, man, if you just want games, go do it and learn to love NCAA. Like, those are good games. I haven't played them much as an adult, but as a kid, I loved the Madden and NCAA games back then. The features on those games are better than the features now. So that's my recommendation. Like, everyone wants to collect JRPGs, and then everyone wants to complain about how expensive the hobby is. Everyone wants every Atlas title or every Nintendo title, and then they want to complain about how expensive the hobby is. You're going to have to branch out. You're going to have to try new things. When I started my complete collections, I learned to love so many new games, okay? There are games I never would have tried, never would have played, never even would have heard of if I wasn't doing this complete collection. And as a result, my biggest example is Vex. I don't know what that game is now, but I bought it for $10 about 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. And it's one of my favorite GameCube games, okay? It is awesome. Never would have even taken a chance on it. So, take a chance on filler titles that look good to you, all right? Pete says go after, like the licensed character games, because typically, like, ooh, Penguins of Madagascar, $5 game, which I don't know anymore, but it used to be, those games were in the $5 bin, $10 bins. And I kind of agree to that extent, is find a genre that's got a million of them. Sports titles on the Genesis, 3D platformers, or, platformers on the Genesis. They're a dime a dozen, so just go find some, right? There's a game we have at work called Tin Man on the Genesis. We got about $10-15. It looks really fun. Okay, not every game in your collection has to be, a really expensive title. Little Samson, for example. Not every game has to be Little Samson. So research the fillers and find something you enjoy. There's plenty of YouTube videos. Every time I'm about to buy a filler game, I look it up on YouTube to see if it looks like something I would play. Which gets me to my final topic. I'm going to try to wrap it up into this. This may be 2 points in one. I'm not really sure. But it goes back to narrowing your collection, okay? This won't necessarily make the collecting cheaper, but this is what I like to say. If collecting isn't going to get any cheaper, okay? buy what you want. Buy what you want, because if you're going to be paying outrageous prices, you should at least like the game. Okay? So, my new rule is if I'm going to spend a lot of money on a game, like I'll still buy a filler title at a good price or a great game. Like if it's a $60 game and I find it for $30, I'm like, okay, I probably need to get this. But if I'm going to spend the asking price on a video game, I ask myself one thing. When am I going to play it? And if the answer isn't next to immediately, I don't buy it. That took a lot of learning to do. But it finally, because when I started off, my collection wasn't at the point where, if I never bought another game, I would be alive. I would die before I got to play my whole collection. It didn't start off that way, but after a few years of collecting, it's gotten to that point where if I don't buy another game for the rest of my life, I will die before I play all my games. So when I got to that point, which was probably last summer, okay, when I got to last summer, because I got Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, I got Pokemon Gala Darkness, I got Wario World, I got Link's Awakening on the Switch, I got... My dogs have decided they're going to come hang out in the den with me. When I started, like, the GameStop sales, right, when I got to 150 Wii U games, it got to the point where I was like, you know what? I either need to retire early or I'm going to die before I get to play all these games. So I started asking myself, like, why would I spend $60 on this game? I don't know when I'm going to play it. Why would I spend... That's one of the biggest holdups I have with Devil's Third, being about $200. When am I going to play that game? And because of that, I'm like, boy, rent's due every week. But you know what's not due every week? Playing Devil's Third. So, collect what you're gonna play. And, like, really force yourself. If you want the collecting to be cheap, do this, okay? You have to beat the game or put in some prerequisite amount of time, okay? So if you spend $100 on a game, you need to get 50 hours or something. You know, it's going to vary depending on the game. Some games you're not going to be able to get 50 hours out of. But, you know, if it's a short game and it's $100, like, I'm going to beat this game before I buy another game. I'm not really a guy who beats their games in one sitting. Like, I started playing, like, Wario's World. And then I hopped over to Mario Galaxy. Then I hopped over to Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. Then I hopped over to Mega Man 64. My point is, I don't beat my games, but I get my money's worth. Alright, if I paid $40 for a game, I'm going to play it for about a week. You know what I mean? I'm going to really get the value out of that game. That may not sound like a lot, but it's video games, so you know what I mean. So do that. If you want to slow down your buying, slow down your spending, tell yourself you can't buy another game until you've got your money's worth out of this game. And we'll see how many more games you're buying and how often you're buying. So that's my tips. It's true. Right now, COVID changed everything. So video game collecting is expensive. It's one of the reasons Jessica and I started buying on the Wii, the PS3, and the Xbox 360. I think I said that right. Those games are dirt cheap. They were everywhere, man. Then COVID happened, and it's changed a lot, man. GameCube collecting is not cheap anymore. N64 is about middle of the road these days. It's part of the reason I buy 360 games. I like the achievements, and they're cheap. So for me, that's a win-win. I get to raise my gamer score, boost my collection, and I know I'll never have a complete collection of 360, but I love to play the 360. I love to play the one. So that's kind of my ideas. And I'm a big handheld gamer right now. So I don't find myself sitting down at a TV playing a game console very often unless I'm recording a Let's Play. But I found myself, I started Pokemon Emerald yesterday, and I've already put 8 hours into it. I was off today, so that helped. But yeah, over the course of 2 days, I've already put 8 hours into Pokemon Emerald. Just getting to sit on the couch and watch YouTube and play the DS, right? It's just, that's where I'm at right now. I am thinking about switching to handheld collecting, but I'll make another video about that soon enough. All right, guys, I rambled on a little longer than I wanted to. I thought this would be fun off-the-cuff kind of video, and in my opinion, it was. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, took something away from this. Please go watch Pete's video. It's kind of funny, kind of entertaining. Pete does a good job with his YouTube videos. He's put out 3 videos in 2 weeks, which if you follow Pete's content, It's like Christmas over there. Come on now. So thank you guys so much for watching. I got to start dinner soon because Jessica will be home soon. So, all right, guys. See you in the next one.